Environmental experts as well as coalition of civil society organizations in Rivers State demand that the Nigerian government declare a state of emergency in Bille, an oil and gas bearing community in Rivers State, which is currently on the brink of extinction due to the eruption of gas bubble seen on the surface and on the groundwater in the community. An environmentalist, Engineer Andawai Ogosu, has called for an immediate evaluation of oil and gas facilities of multinationals operating in Bille, as well as the immediate environmental remediation of same community, Bille community in Degema local government area of Rivers State, to cushion the heightened environmental threat that is being occasioned by the eruption of gas bubbles on the earth's surface, creeks and underground water in the community. Engineer Gosu, who has gained 5 decades of experience as an environmental and chemical expert, a lecturer at the Rivers State University and president of the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, MOSOP, said considering the fact that the oil and gas facilities are in brackish water is prone to corrosion and therefore need to be evaluated.
Bille is a component of the Niger Delta region, and of course, Niger Delta region is a very sensitive environment. It's only by God's grace that they are still living till date. When you have bubbles coming from groundwater, bubbles coming from surface water, bubbles coming from the swamps and the creeks, knowing fully well that the Niger Delta is a large belt of oil and gas deposits, with pipelines crisscrossing the entire region. So, good a thing, in the real coastal areas, the pipes pass underwater. Well, in most communities, you see the pipelines crisscrossing the communities. And in fact, you even see communities building their homes above pipelines. So most of these pipelines are old, have not been changed, and been going through quite a lot of corrosion, because brackish water is salty. And of course, in the Niger Delta today, whether it is fresh and brackish water, some runoff from whatever also empties in the larger water body. And you can see all manner of waste. In fact, our surface water bodies now are receptacles, what I call sink, for all manner of waste. But when you start having bubbles coming from underground and coming to the surface, it therefore means there's something wrong in the techniques of that area, the land area and all that. And it shows that something is trying to come up, therefore there has to be struggle for space. So the bubbles you see are bubbles of gas coming up to the surface.
He called on the government to develop adequate mechanisms that will enable prompt engagement of locals of impacted communities.
And there is a lack of engagement. And what I mean by engagement is consultation and talking to the people. These facilities I've just mentioned, pipelines or flow stations or whatever, they are properties owned by companies. So there's got to be an engagement procedure between the owners of the properties and the people who habit that place. That's where they live. Bille is an island. So we are only praying. It is by God's grace some of them are there. The day a major fire outbreak will happen, it will be disastrous. Therefore, the state government and the federal government must develop real mechanisms that will encourage prompt engagement with the people who stay there 24 hours, 247.
Coalition of civil society organizations in Rivers State, in solidarity, provided medical outreach for locals of the impacted community. They also called for the immediate intervention of the federal government, as well as NNPC and New Cross Petroleum, who were alleged to own the leaking gas pipes in Bille. On his part, Dr. Isaac Asume Uswaka, The Executive Director of Social Action International says the situation on ground is an emergency situation. The lives of locals is threatened. He said the gas eruption that has lasted for 6 months is yet to attract government attention. He therefore called for an immediate and favorable response from federal government.
It's an emergency situation in Bille, as we have all seen. Moving around the community, seeing all the points where gas is bubbling from beneath the earth. Even on the water, there's bubbling everywhere. The water wells that the people depend on for drinking is already polluted, and this has been going on for 6 months and more. And it's an outrage that the government of Nigeria has failed to respond, despite the pleas of the people. Despite the fact that even NOSDRA, an agency of government that is responsible for monitoring and responding to oil spill situations, they visited this community, but they have done nothing about it. Nigerian citizens whose lives are threatened, who are being poisoned by toxic fumes every day, whose water, both groundwater and surface water, have been completely destroyed. To not respond to this situation months after it has been reported to his office is an outrage.
On her part, Ms. Brink, an environmental activist, termed the Bille gas bubbling situation as terrible. She called for the termination of oil and gas exploration in Bille community to prevent further environmental damage and to enable the remediation of the Bille environment.
Hope you can feel it and hear it in my voice. I feel helpless. There is nothing I can do to stop this. I don't think there is much the Bille people can do apart from, I don't know, stop all these people from, the oil companies or whatever, from being around here.
On his part, Datolu Solubo, leader of the Ijaw Youth Congress, IYC Eastern Zone in Rivers State, demand for adequate and prompt social welfare for the impacted people of Bille community.
Corresponding to community that is supposed to embark on an emergency situation, an alternative means to help the people. When was the last time the petroleum minister, who is the president of the federal government, the minister for petroleum gas, when was the last time they initiated subsidence studies? If they can respond to this, they will know that they are competent to be.
On his part, Emilio Wills, an environmental activist, called on the government to declare a state of emergency on Bille community to prevent further environmental problems. Other locals that reacted cried out for urgent help from both the government as well as well-meaning organizations and individuals. They said the gas bubbles has occasioned serious hardship in their community. Some demanded for the seizure of oil and gas activities in Bille community. From Rivers State, Lauren Emenike.